Good morning. This is Ricky Martin, the cybersecurity guy. Bringing you another video today. I wanted to talk about passwords and security online. So one of the things that I was coming across, and I know I'm probably a little late to the party, but turns out May 4th was World Password Day, just to kind of highlight security around passwords and online security. So I know May the 4th typically has the Star Wars May the 4th be with you, which is a little bit more memorable than World Password Day, which is why I didn't even know it existed. But when I was looking at putting together this topic today, came across that. So given that we're in July, it's a little late for the World Password Day, but want to bring you some quick tips and tricks for passwords and managing passwords and security online. So one of the things I wanted to touch on first off is multi-factor authentication. So I know it's a big word, doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people, but for average people out there doing things like online banking, transactions, any type of login, even things like Gmail. A lot of websites do support multi-factor authentication. What that means is basically when you log into a website, you'll put in your password, which is the first step, and then a lot of times they'll have a second. That's where the multi-factor comes into play, is having a second step to kind of authenticate you. So either you'll get a text to your phone, email with another code that you would have to put in to kind of verify that it's actually you. So that's one of the first tips, is whenever possible you want to try and use that. It is more secure. It does add a few extra steps, but the idea is it's still usable and makes you more secure and puts you in a better position. One of the other tips I'm going to give you guys is around passwords themselves. Passwords are always a pain. I suffer from it too. You have millions or hundreds of passwords that you have to remember for all the different websites you go to, logins for work, email, etc. So one of the things you can use is either a password management tool, or one of the things I like to do, and this is probably something that a lot of security experts out there recommend, is using a password phrase. So something that is unique that you'll easily remember, but is a full phrase. So not a specific name, not a specific date, but something that means something to you that you can easily make very complex. And typically the longer it is, the more complex it's going to be, the better it is from a security perspective, because it's harder to hack. Not to say that nothing is unbreakable, but it does make it harder for password crackers, those kind of things, to break through some of these complex passwords. The bigger they are and the more complex they get. So one of the things I always recommend, and I always tell people, is whenever you're creating a password, first off, use a phrase. So something long, example, something like "this is not your house" or something like that. It's just something that's easy for you to remember, that you can use. And the idea is, within that phrase that you're using, you adjust some of the characters. So to meet some of the complexity requirements for a lot of the password requirements, a lot of things you have to have 15 characters, the uppercase, lowercase, special characters, all of that. That's where you can leverage some of these phrases, where you can switch out characters that make sense for you. So instead of using an I, use a 1. Instead of using a E, use a 3, those kind of things. You can use special characters as well, so exclamations, @signs, etc. So that's going to make your password more complex. The idea is you want to use something that's easy to remember. Again, keeping with a phrase that makes sense to you, that has meaning to you, but may not be relevant to anybody else. So far we covered multi-factor authentication, complex passwords. One of the other things that I also find with regards to passwords is you can use some of these password management tools. There's lots of different ones out there. It kind of depends on what your needs are and what your requirements are. There's plenty of free ones out there. There's also paid versions that help you, automatically fill in websites and populate web pages with usernames and passwords. So it's really up to you what flavor of those you prefer or you like, or you're up to using. I don't personally recommend any specific one. What I found is they all do kind of the same thing. It's just depending on the bells and whistles and what makes sense for you. If you have any specific requests or requirements or things that you're looking for, just let me know. I can put those in the comments and cover those on another follow-up. But the idea is you want to secure your password, use multi-factor authentication, and use some kind of password management tool to keep track of all your passwords. One of the benefits of that as well is you can also track when you change it. So if you're like me and most other people with frequently changing passwords, or you have to meet certain security requirements, your passwords are going to change more often. So it just keeps track of what you've used as your password, so you can do your, again, following on what I said earlier with the variations, you can follow on with that and keep track of where you've made changes in your password phrase, so that you can change things up as you need to change your password or update your passwords. I found you can use those phrases, and just by swapping in different characters, as I said, with the special characters, letters, numbers, etc., you can update your password, and it meets a lot of the criteria for complex passwords. So that's kind of it for today. It's a little longer video than my intro video, but just want to put this out there, get some information about passwords. Some of the other things I'm going to cover is, I apologize for looking off to the side, but in some upcoming videos we'll cover Internet of Things, your devices that you have in your house, smart devices, things like your routers, your thermostats, those kind of things, cameras, etc., and how you can make those a little bit more secure. So once again, signing off, it's Ricky Martin, the cybersecurity guy. If you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe link in the bottom of the video, and if you might get notified when I put new content, hit the notification button as well. Thanks, have a great day.